Hello everybody and welcome back, where today we've got some exciting PSVR2 news, and a piece of news that I was actually wrong about. The other day I said that it would surprise me if we got an actual working dynamic foveated rendering implementation on PSVR2 on PC, and that goes to show how much I know apparently, because it's already up and working. Modders What the Hopper, High and Real Supremium have worked very hard over the last year, I guess, since the headset came over to PC, to put out a proper eye tracking module that you can download. All the links will be down below, and there are two methods here that can allow you to use DFR on PC, but there is a catch depending on which graphics card manufacturer you use, which we'll get onto in a second. Before we do that, only 25% you actually sub to the channel, so please feel free to do so, and thank you to our patrons and members for supporting the channel day after day and week after week. With that being said, let's break this down a little bit further, shall we? So, dynamic foveated rendering essentially makes it so that whatever part of the image that you're looking at is rendered really sharply, and the rest of it is loosened up in terms of rendering power. So your GPU is freed up a little bit. Sometimes these methods can be more CPU intensive, but in terms of GPU, you're all good. This can allow up to 30 to 50% improvement in terms of performance for virtual reality gaming. We've seen this over the past 2.5 years for PSVR2. Take Pavlov, for example. That game on PSVR2 running without DFR would look and run decently, but according to the devs, this console can match 3090 raw performance by using dynamic foveated rendering with Pavlov. That's kind of to give you a sense of how powerful this thing can really be. And when PSVR2 was originally announced for PC, I was convinced that Sony were going to put out their own eye tracking drivers, have their own eye tracking and DFR implementation, much like Pimax do, and allow PC users to use this technology to make their games run better on PC. It would make PSVR2 the cheapest headset out there that has eye tracking both for games like VR Chat and for DFR implementation. Unfortunately, Sony didn't do it, but now modders have, and we're up and running. Now, there are two methods to actually make this work, and unfortunately I only have access to one. Now, the main one is Pimax for All. This is a modification of the Pimax eye tracking software that basically allows you to go in and use DFR with eye tracking for most games. You know, your Skyrim VR, Microsoft Flight Sim, UEVR Injector. It works for basically all of these. There's a full list down below though of all the games that are compatible. However, the catch for this is that it's not available on AMD. It simply doesn't work on AMD at all. So for me, I can't actually use this because I'm with AMD, I don't use Nvidia. But if you do use Nvidia, then you're all good. Go look at the guide that I've linked below by Luncheon VR. That's an incredibly helpful tool to get you up and running. Basically, it'll go through all the steps you need, which honestly isn't very complicated at all, and then jump into your favorite games and you'll have DFR implemented. There is another way of doing it though, and this works on AMD. However, it's limited to about 6 games, I believe, which really isn't that useful. But it's still cool to see this working, and this method is called Quad Views. I believe it's also possibly developed by Pimax originally, but this downloads in a similar way. Same video which talks you through it by Luncheon VR. And this works great on AMD now. I tested it out on Kayak VR Mirage. Thank you to the Kayak devs for sending me over a Steam key very quickly. I've played this game for hours on end on PlayStation VR2 on PS5, but on PC I haven't. But they got back super quick, sent a key over, because Kayak VR Mirage is one of the games that works with Quad View on AMD. Other games include DCS, The Seventh Guest, and Pavlov. If you have any of those, you can test this out yourself. Now, before talking about the actual performance improvements that I saw with Kayak, it's worth noting that there are 2 bugs which are prevalent with this driver, one of which is worse controller tracking. I luckily haven't run into this one. I don't know whether it's dependent on your Bluetooth adapter or your built-in Bluetooth and how strong it is, but some people have been reporting that. But the other issue that I did run into, and it's pretty much universal, is that your VR boundary that comes up is always on for some reason. Now, you have to go into your Steam VR settings in your files on your PC and add this line of code in one of the directories. Again, if you go to the linked video below, go to the comments, Luncheon VR has basically pasted in there what you need to do to fix it. But it worked like a treat. I'm not really good at going into files and modifying things, but it's a simple copy and paste where it needs to be, and there you go, your boundary is gone. Now, I don't know if this means that the boundary won't come up at all. I'm assuming it means it won't, so don't punch a wall or anything like that, but there you go, you can actually fix it and get rid of it. Overall though, dynamic foveated rendering is a bit of a game changer. We've seen plenty of footage already of people playing games like Half-Life Alyx and seeing their FPS jump from 70 to 100 plus, which is awesome. For me, Kayak VR ran pretty decently. My PC isn't the beefiest, so DFR really should be a help here, and it was. I saw a 40%-ish uplift in frames. For a game that looks as good as Kayak, seeing it run this well on like a mid to low end in VR terms PC rig with a 6700 XT is just awesome. I do wish quad views worked with more stuff, but it's good to see that on a game that technically doesn't even officially implement it, but the way that the game is designed allows quad views to work, it actually works this well. And you can actually jump into the Steam VR settings tab and toggle on and off the eye tracking APR on the OpenXR tab, meaning you can see the performance changes in your frame time in real time, so you can definitely see it working. Anyway, I'm really impressed with this. The modders honestly are absolutely ridiculous for getting this working. Go and test it out if you haven't already and you have a PC. It's best if you're on Nvidia because then you'll be able to use the Pimax for All software. But if you're on AMD and you have Kayak, Pavlov, DCS, or 7th Guest, I believe there's a couple other games, but they slip my mind right now, then use quad views and see the performance improvements for yourself. Again, the link is in the description below. For Lunch in VR's video is absolutely amazing and really, really easy, so give it a go. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.